The poem says you are standing in a mouth. It was written in the 8th century by an Indian monk named Shantideva in a work called The Way of the Bodhisattva, and the line has lost none of its teeth. A person whose mind wanders lives between the fangs of the afflictions. Not near the fangs, not within sight of them. Between them, standing on the tongue of something that bites, and admiring the view. It is worth knowing who wrote that line, because the story travels with the poem. Tradition tells it this way. Shantideva was a monk at Nalanda, the greatest Buddhist university of the ancient world, and his fellow monks despised him. As far as anyone could see, he did exactly 3 things. He ate, he slept, and he wandered around. So the monks arranged a public humiliation. They invited him to teach before the whole assembly, certain he had nothing to say, and they built the teaching seat deliberately high, so everyone could watch him fail to climb it. He climbed it without effort. Then he asked the assembly a quiet question. Shall I recite something old or something never heard before? Something new, they said, expecting comedy. What came out of him over the hours that followed was one of the most piercing maps of the human mind ever spoken. The poem this teaching now draws from. The man they had watched for years, apparently doing nothing, had been doing the one work nobody can see. Remember him. He is what a person looks like when the field is being farmed on purpose. Afflictions is the old Buddhist word for the states that seize a mind and wring suffering out of it. Anger, craving, envy, pride, fear, the whole family. You have met every member of it today. Envy is the small twist in the chest when the phone shows you someone's better morning. Craving is the pull that walks you to the fridge you already visited, looking for a feeling no fridge has ever contained. Pride is the thing that could not let the remark in the meeting go unanswered. Fear is the tightness that has been living in your shoulders so long you call it posture. The word matters because it is precise. These are afflictions, the way a fever is an affliction. They are things that happen to a mind, conditions it catches, weathers it gets caught in. Feel what that framing quietly removes. The modern world taught you to file your anger and your envy under character flaws, which makes every outburst a verdict about who you are. The old teaching files them under afflictions, which makes every outburst a symptom, information about a condition carrying no more shame than a cough. You are not your fever. You are the one burning with it, and that difference is the beginning of all treatment. A person ashamed of their symptoms hides them and keeps them. A person who sees a condition clearly can begin to heal it. And Shantideva's claim is very specific about when they strike. They are predators and, like most predators, they hunt only what is not paying attention. Every nature documentary teaches the same law. The lion does not chase the gazelle that is watching it. It studies the herd for a long, patient time, and then it takes the one with its head down, the one that drifted from the group, the one facing the wrong way. Attention in the wild is armor. Shantideva is saying the inner wilderness runs on the very same rule. Your afflictions have been studying the herd of your hours for years. They know exactly when your head goes down. Test that claim against your own history, because it is testable. Find the last time anger truly took you, the time you said the thing you spent the next week regretting. Now examine the moment before it. Were you present? Were you standing calmly in the room, aware of your breath, aware of your hands, aware of the other person's fear underneath their voice? You were not. You were fused into a story about being disrespected, a story that had been building for days, and the story struck with your mouth. This is the pattern every single time, and it is worth saying plainly. No affliction has ever taken a person who was fully present. Anger cannot grip a mind that is watching anger arrive. Craving loosens the instant it is clearly seen. You may have felt this once without knowing what it was. Some evening, reaching for the third helping or the next episode or the drink, you happen to actually notice the pull itself, the raw tug of it in the body, almost physical, like a leash going taut. And for one strange moment, the pull was just a pull, an event in the chest rather than a command from a king. It crested. It passed. Nothing needed to be fought, because a wave that is watched is just water. The predators need the dark. Your absence is the dark. So the tenant from before now has a family name. But there is a deeper question underneath, and it is the real business of this teaching. Where do the predators come from? Why does your anger have its particular triggers, your craving its particular flavors, your fear its particular address? The Buddhist answer is one of the most misunderstood words ever to cross from east to west. The word is karma. And before it can help you, the word needs rescuing from two opposite corruptions. The first corruption made it magic. The second made it a life sentence. You have heard people sigh, "That is my karma," the way a prisoner mentions his cell number, as if some ledger in the sky had ruled, and appeal were impossible. Both corruptions share one error. They turn karma into something that happens to you. In the Buddha's mouth, it was almost the opposite. It was the most empowering claim he ever made. Think about what the alternative would actually mean. If your temperament were issued at birth and locked, every difficult thing about your mind would be a life sentence with no parole. If some outside judge were keeping the ledger, your inner life would be a courtroom you could never leave. The teaching on karma dissolves both prisons with one observation. The mind is built continuously by its own activity. Whatever was built can be built differently. The builder is reading this sentence. Forget most of what the modern world has done to that word. Karma is not a cosmic scoreboard. It is not the universe punishing bad people with flat tires and rewarding good ones with parking spaces. Karma simply means action, and the teaching behind it is something you can verify before this hour is out. Every action leaves a residue in the one who acts. Every thought you think makes that thought slightly easier to think again. Every time anger is expressed, the channel it ran through gets a little wider. Every time craving is obeyed, its voice gets a little more convincing. You are not walking through your days, leaving no trace. You are walking through wet cement, and every step sets. You can catch the cement setting in a single day if you watch for it. Spend one evening complaining. A good, satisfying session, the kind that feels like release. And notice the next morning how the mind reaches for complaint on its own. A little earlier, a little easier, like a shop that has learned you are a regular. One evening was enough to lower the price. Nothing mystical happened. A path got walked, so the path got clearer. Now multiply that one evening by every unattended evening of your adult life, and you begin to see what you have been building without blueprints. The Buddha's framework for this is called dependent origination, and its heart fits in one sentence of plain English. When this exists, that arises. Nothing in the mind appears from nowhere. Today's flash of rage is yesterday's rehearsed grievance, matured. Today's craving is 10,000 yesterdays of reaching, compounded. The mind you woke up with this morning is not an accident and not a punishment. It is a harvest. Some of the seeds, to be fair, you never planted. A childhood plants seeds before the child can consent to any of them. A harsh home plants vigilance. An anxious parent plants weather checking that outlives the parent. This is worth saying because the point of the teaching is responsibility, never blame. And the difference between those two words is the difference between a burden and a key. You did not choose the field you inherited, but the deed has been transferred, quietly, somewhere along the way. Whoever planted what, only one person holds the watering can now. Every seed was planted by an earlier moment, most of them planted in the fog, by nobody, while you were away. Watch the chain run once in slow motion, because it is running right now. A dull moment arrives. A cue, a red light, a pause in the conversation. Dullness is faintly unpleasant. The unpleasantness itches. The itch reaches for the phone. When this exists, that arises. Boredom, then itch, then reach, each link pulling the next. No self required anywhere in the machinery. The hand is in the pocket before any decision was ever held. That chain has run so many thousand times it no longer needs you at all. It is not a choice anymore. It is a reflex wearing a choice's clothing. Hold that thought against everything you saw earlier. The chewing, the screenwriting, the pinball hours. All of that felt like mere weather, unpleasant and passing. Now you can see what it actually was. It was agriculture. Every replay of the old argument was a seed of anger, planted and watered. Every rehearsed disaster was a seed of fear. Every envious scroll was a seed of that particular misery, sown in rows. The wandering mind is never idle. It farms. And here is the principle this whole teaching turns on, the one to carry out of today. When you are not shaping your mind is being shaped anyway, by the oldest, loudest, most rehearsed habits in the storehouse. Drift never leaves the field empty. Drift hands the field to whatever grew there last year. This is why the sharp word snaps out of you in the exact tone your father used, the tone you swore you would never use. Nothing just comes out. That sentence auditioned for years in the private theatre of your rumination before it ever reached your mouth. This is why the argument with your partner follows the same script every time, beat for beat, as if both of you were handed pages. You were. You wrote them together, unattended repetition by unattended repetition, and now the play performs itself and casts you both. This is why the evening dissolves the same way it dissolved last night. Why the resolution made with total sincerity on Sunday is dust by Wednesday. Sincerity is a moment. Habit is a workforce. One good intention was never going to outvote 10,000 rehearsals. This, in passing, is the entire autopsy of every New Year's resolution you have ever buried. The resolution was real. The desire was real. But a resolution is one vote, cast once, by the part of you that showed up for the meeting. The habit votes every hour, forever, and it never misses a session. Willpower was always the wrong tool, the way shouting at a river is the wrong tool. What changes a river is patient work on the banks, and the banks of the mind are built or moved only by attention. Now stretch the timeline, because karma compounds like interest. A thought repeated becomes a mood. A mood repeated becomes a temperament. A temperament repeated becomes what everyone who knows you calls your character. And character is just habit that has been winning for decades. Picture yourself at 70. Some version of you is already forming there, and the shape of that person is being voted on today, this afternoon, in the fog, by every unwatched repetition. The bitter old man did not decide to become bitter. He drifted there, one rehearsed grievance at a time, and by the end, the grievances were rehearsing him. People love to say that people never change. The truth is worse and more useful. People never stop changing. Every one of us is changing at this moment, steadily, in the exact direction of our repetitions. The question was never whether you will be different at 70. The question is only who has been supervising the difference. The serene old woman everyone hopes to sit next to did not win a lottery. Somewhere along the way, attention started choosing her seeds. And that is the door out of what could otherwise sound like a horror story. Because if the mind were fixed, fated, Issued once at birth like a serial number, there would be nothing to do but cope. Karma teaches the opposite of fate. The same law that let anger dig its channels will deepen any channel you choose. The cement takes every footprint equally. The field grows patience as readily as resentment. It has no loyalty to your afflictions, only to whatever is planted and watered. Conditioning built the whole prison, and conditioning will dismantle it, brick by brick, the moment a gardener shows up who is actually awake. And the reverse planting needs no grand gestures to begin. One breath, fully attended, is a seed. One retort, noticed and released instead of fired, is a seed, and a subtraction from the anger channel at the same time. One moment of feeling the water on your shoulders instead of feeding the meeting in your head plants something whose harvest you cannot yet imagine. Small seeds are how every forest started. The afflictions themselves began as small seeds, once, long ago, in soil nobody was watching. The fangs close on the absent. That is the warning. They have never once closed on the present. That is the promise, and it is the same sentence read in better light. Read this way. Shantideva's terrifying line reveals itself as a map with an exit marked in plain ink. You cannot argue the predators away, or outrun them, or negotiate. But you were never asked to. You were asked to turn the lights on, because everything that hunts you hunts by darkness, which leaves one requirement standing between you and the field. The gardener has to be there. Planting is a skill, and it has a name, and you have almost certainly filed that name under things meant for other people. Monks, mountains, mornings colder than you are willing to endure. The truth is stranger and much closer to home. You already know how to do it. You have been doing it your entire life, every single day, with tremendous discipline. You have simply never once been shown what it is.